Okay, well, I don't have a watch, but I'll just go for a stroll up the road and come back.
Yeah, well, I won't be that long.
How come they can't say hi to me?
Oh, they can.
Somebody
But,
can.
no. But they may not hang around long when they find out I'm an apostate. Kelly?
Good morning.
They're flying around getting closer.
Chill out, John, and I'll just go for a stroll.
Oh, great. Yeah, since I used to be one. Yeah,
All good?
yeah, yeah. All good.
Morning.
Ah, new mags.
They're all different now. The way they've got them done up here.
Yeah. Well, I used to be in the congregation years ago. I used to be one of you guys.
What, D-Bay?
Jehovah's Witness as well.
Yeah, I know, but
Yeah, I used to be.
congregation.
Yeah. It was the very first one 20 odd years ago when I first started studying with when the Flemings were.
Oh,
They
yeah.
took me under their wing, and I was studying with what's his name? Yeah, Michael Ingrid. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I heard Budrum.
Somewhere up there, yeah.
Yeah. I was up that way for a little bit, hanging around Maroochydore, where I wasn't very popular with you guys. I was chatting with one of the carts beginning of the year, and the guy was just vicious, nasty. When I was asking about the whole ARC thing, and yeah, how does he feel about it? And then after that, I tried to talk with the carts, finding out how do I complain about the way he said he was nasty. He laughed at me, he mocked me, come on a disability pension. He was really bad, but everyone just walked off on me. So yeah, so after a while, they just refused to talk to me. But yeah, because I actually wanted to go back about a year ago, but unfortunately, just too much stuff. The internet and all that, just the ARC. Have you looked at the ARC and the two witness issues?
Don't know what you're talking about.
Australian Royal Commission, 2015, institutionalised abuse. Jehovah's Witnesses were case number 29, and it found out through paperwork given by the organisation, submitted, that between 1950 and 2015, there were 1,006 reported cases, like documented cases. 579 actually admitted that they had actually sexually abused kids, and not one was reported. The whole, out of all that, not one was reported to the authorities. A lot of the cases of men were disfellowshipped but came back. Some did it again. People weren't told in the congregations, people weren't told in public. So they got a good blasting out of it. And the whole two witness rule, where it only applies to cases like that but not to other cases, like cases of adultery, because the book, the Shepherd the Flock book, you can now find it online, because it was actually one of the submitted things that the organisation did for the commission. And you know, there's a lot of really, basically the cover up of child abuse is pretty extensive, but by the elders especially. You know.
All right. Well, I actually don't believe that, but that's
Why don't you believe that?
That's my opinion.
But why don't you believe that?
That they cover it up like the Catholic Church does? No, I don't.
Actually, they're worse than the Catholic Church because they won't admit it.
No.
They call people, your own governing body member on a video on Watchtower, jw.com.org, actually call people who call it pedophile paradise, which when you have an organisation that pays $4,000 a day for over 2 years and a fine to not hand over a court-ordered database of names of child abusers in America. They only just recently paid out the child abuse case that it came from.
We
shouldn't worry ourselves about things like that. Jehovah's going to sort it out
Yeah.
anyway.
But-
and that's a small amount in comparison to how many out there that are doing good.
But that's just it.
A small amount that are doing things wrong. We don't need to really worry about that because Jehovah will sort them out in due course.
But this is an organisation that it shuns people.
We're only human and we do make mistakes.
But then how can you trust the men who are leading it, who claim to be basic conduits from God? They are meant, the governing body.
They're not leading us.
They are.
They're helping us. But they're
You have to do what they say, don't you? You can't question them.
not what they say, what the Bible says.
No, it's what they say because
We still have to look into it ourselves and decide whether what they're saying is correct through what the Bible
then how come other people who used to be in it, who were even fairly high up, elders, circuit overseers and that, even Bethel members actually have come out because they've seen for themselves and checked things out that the governing body,
freedom of choice. If they want to leave, they can leave.
but then they get shunned.
Anyone.
The families get, shunning is a practice. People have committed suicide because they're shunned.
Suicide, even if you're not in,
Yeah.
you're not in a religion.
Yeah, but
people
it's because they're
suicide.
shunned.
No, I don't
The-
believe that. Being wise.
See, so you don't believe that.
There's always two sides to a story, and it depends.
Then how
which
can
way
you believe only the one side?
Pardon?
You only seem to believe the witness side.
No, we believe what the Bible says.
But you don't- you don't
I have no idea
believe.
why people do what they do.
But
I
you don't
know
believe
that
the RC.
God sees everything, and it all will get fixed. And we shouldn't focus on the negatives. We need to focus on the positives and what's
But
more
you can't
beneficial in the whole.
But you can't ignore the negatives, can you?
It's not that
No,
we don't,
we don't
know
ignore
that
them.
things
We know
happen,
that they're
but
there.
it's just-
Then how do you feel the governing body forking out $2 million to avoid handing over a database of pedophiles in America?
Why focus on things that can bring you down? Why not just focus?
But
on
these are the people that are leading the organisation, okay, who are actually actively refusing to hand over by court order and forking out $2 million of the organisation's money to not hand over this database. And then you've got your cases of the civil suits that they've paid out millions of dollars that people don't know about because it's had a gag order on it.
Oh, it gets out if it was real.
It has though, that's just it. But
Yeah, and if it stops people, then it's just sad. We choose not to stick our head and pretend it doesn't happen. We are aware that things happen,
But
but meanwhile, the greater good of it all really is this.
there is no greater good with the witnesses.
There's better stuff out
What
there.
do you do to help people, really, besides just with the Bible? People who are actually needing help with food, with housing, with just general help. It's all about their literature.
No.
There's no Bible there. It's all about your literature.
Bible if you want one.
Oh,
You
I've got-
can get it
online.
Oh yeah, I've got Bible and all that. But the thing is
We don't force people to take anything.
no, you don't. No, but what I'm saying is that you actually refuse to see that the damage that the organisation has done to so many people's lives. Your own governing body member said publicly that people who have come out to discuss the atrocious way they've been dealt with by the organisation with their child abuse as apostate-driven lies and dishonesties. How does that make, how is that anything to do godlike? Really?
I keep saying we are all only human, and yes, there will be sheep amongst the wolves amongst the sheep.
But these are supposed to be the governing body. These are the ones that,
They're not perfect. They're
They're
still
not
men.
perfect.
and yet you take everything they say as gospel.
No, we don't. We look into the Bible and we check it out.
Then,
Check it out
so what you're saying is people who look into the Bible and find out what they're saying is not right, they're what? Wrong, they're lying, they're what?
No. How would you mean not right? What would be not right?
Well, okay, to the point, the two witness rule, okay, it's only used in the cases of child abuse, which you find that there's usually not two witnesses too, okay, but it's not used in cases of adultery, it's not used in cases of someone's accused of theft or a bad association, anything like that. It's
No,
only
it
for
is.
child abuse.
Two witness rule is used in everything.
Actually, it isn't.
Okay, we'll have to disagree on that one.
Well, we have to, because you can actually find the Shepherding of the Flock book, Shepherding the Flock of God book, online, and it actually says that.
There are things that that are out of our control, and
But these are people that are supposed to be leading the congregation, supposed to be teaching you.
We get what you're saying, but we don't blindly follow people. We're not going to
do.
do what they're doing.
You do what they say, and
We don't do what they say.
I've just told you what's happened,
I know.
and you're making
There's
excuses.
nothing- No,
but this is
nothing. No. I think it's sad, and I don't deny that it happens. I know it happens. I know it's happened.
But you denied that there's a cover-up.
No, I didn't say that. I'm not denying it. I just haven't looked into it.
The ARC.
I'm just saying we are relying on Jehovah to fix it in the end, and he will.
The ARC, yeah, but you're part of an organisation that actively protects pedophiles.
There's a lot of Christians out there that have gone to these churches where these people are...
We're not talking about them. They at least admit there's a problem.
Yes.
The governing body doesn't. It will not admit.
Focus on the bad when it can...
Because it's the bad that's destroyed thousands, tens of thousands of lives. It has. You've got the...
It's Satan's world. Lots of lives are going to be destroyed, no matter what religion you're in.
So it doesn't matter if you're Jehovah's Witness and you're not the only ones with the truth? Well, there's lots of evil in the world. Governing body's not perfect, but so following perfect men.
You can't follow we're not following the men.
Well, what they say, you have to follow. You can't associate.
No, we're following the Bible principles, not what the men say. They're
I'd-
Bible principles.
I'd
We're
be-
not following what they're doing.
I'd be classed as an apostate. But you know what an apostate actually is?
Someone who won't believe it, doesn't believe in God.
No, someone who's left their own faith for another. You get apostate with every faith. So anyone who's left another faith to become a Jehovah's Witness, they're actually an apostate. It's not someone who doesn't follow God, someone who's left their faith. A Muslim can be an apostate. A Buddhist can be apostate. That's the dictionary definition of it. Then that's the thing, is the governing body has twisted words, has perverted things. Yeah. Any type of faith, yeah. And that's the, but the apostate with the witnesses, with the governing body, is someone who's left the Jehovah's Witnesses. People are not allowed to look into other things. You're not allowed to look at apostate literature, but
We can look at it, but what's the point? It's not right.
because you get two sides, you get two views. You can't, if you focus, logic, even when I was a witness I was looking at this stuff, and up until last year I was actually defending the witnesses, until I looked at the ARC, until the way I was treated by the congregation up there after being abused and insulted and made fun of by a brother. And then the next couple of days later I came across another cart and they just ignored me and walked off. I started to study, I did one study and then I just couldn't do it. And I used to pass these sisters in the park daily for 6 weeks, have a chat, nice. You know. I was having a chat with them and I think he was actually an elder in the congregation. I'd spoken to him a few times before. He came barreling up before work in his work clothes and demanded that I stop talking to him. You know, what? He thought he had the right to dictate to someone, they could talk to someone. So that just totally turned me off. The way I've been treated, it's totally, there's a rising movement. There's elders who have, in the organisation, that have actually shown letters. There's actually letters from the organisation that shows, you know, when it comes to child abuse, you've got men who aren't trained to investigate, supposedly investigating a crime like this, and they don't call the police. They have to call the legal department first. Up until recently, the victims actually had to be in the same room because, you know, the person has to face their accuser. So you got these kids, these women, these girls having to face their abusers it's like it's part of the whole training was what they're supposed to do. It's supposed to be scriptural. It's all these things I've come across that have actually turned me into what's an activist, I guess. And there's a lot of us. I've had videos taken down. Been reported that I had a video that was like 30 seconds long. I went up to this cart, they just walked off. It was reported, taken down. It's like, yeah, there's a lot of bad happening with the witnesses. And what makes it worse is the governing body won't admit that there's a problem. And they've outright lied, even. So you've got, paid out $2 million.
You said that,
yeah, which is pretty bad because it's not against the biblical principles. It's a legal thing, but they refuse to do it. $2 million of the organisation's money. They paid out millions, tens of millions of dollars.
It was a beautiful sunrise this morning, wasn't it?
Yeah, but unfortunately, there's a lot of issues.
Satan's system. There's a lot of crap happening in this system, and there's nothing we can do to change it.
But you're burying your head in the sand and following 8 men.
We're not burying our head in the sand. We're aware of what's going on. Just there's nothing we can physically do about it. We're concentrating on the positive.
Well, I noticed the worshipping of the governing body. They can do no wrong, can they?
Oh no, we don't think that. We know that they make mistakes.
But they actually do it on purpose. They actually hide the abuse on purpose. And it's a proven fact. I mean, child abuse. What's the most logical thing when someone says that they've been abused? What's the human thing to do? You say you don't call the legal department of the organisation. You go to the police. 579 out of 1,006 admitted it. Not one was reported. This is up until 2015. How many child abusers, child rapists were able to work around kids because it wasn't down on record? With the blue card. That is the policy of the witnesses. The image.
Again, it's Satan's system. There's nothing we can do to fix it.
And then I got that
But
on the way.
Jehovah will fix it.
But just,
Have to wait for that.
but you're part of the only organisation that got out of all the institutions.
There's a lot of organisations that get
Yeah.
away with a lot of stuff.
Yeah, but all the ones that were in the commission, they've actually admitted that they have a problem. They actually admitted. You can on the ARC website. You got the transcripts of the thing. Governing body member Jackson. He actually. What was it he said? The whole. Oh Christ! What was it? I had in my head there. Actually, I can't remember now. It just slipped my head. But he actually flat out lied about the whole not being an issue with the witnesses. The Jehovah's Witnesses were the only organisation that got a blast for not doing anything about, for actively hiding the abuse. That's what was found. Their policies and procedures actively hid it.
You can't believe everything on the internet.
This is from the stuff handed to by the organisation, paperwork and that handed to the ARC. Okay, from the organisation, you can actually look it up and see everything they actually handed over. Notes, 2 victims they actually had.
And by talking about this, how is that
Well, you guys are in denial. You don't know this stuff.
I'm aware that these things are.
But you don't know.
How is it changing it? How is it going to...
How about educating people?
We're not stupid. We know what's going on. How is that going to change
But
it, though? How's it going to fix it? What are you going to do to fix it? If it upsets you so much, what are you going to do to fix it?
Well, educating,
Griping about it, but what are you going to do about fixing it?
griping about the cover-up of child abuse.
Yeah, go ahead. Tell the whole world. But what are you going to do about fixing it personally? If it bothers you so much, go and fix it.
Well, that's just it. By educating, by filming these interactions.
Quite a lot right now.
Yeah.
You can go tell someone else, because I really don't want to know about it anymore, because it's not fixing the problem by griping about it.
But-
You're like a little hamster on a little wheel running around at a gazillion miles an hour, going over the same thing again and again and again and again. You've made your point the first time, and this is why people probably get angry at you, and you're going to go and tell people, oh, she abused me.
No, I've got it all filmed.
Fine, do what you like. I'm just saying,
This is the attitude. This is keeping people...
I'm getting a little bit tired of you running around slandering people.
Slandering, it's evidence.
They've done things wrong. So
That's-
it's not fixing it by slandering the whole society.
It's only slander if it's not true. And it's been proven a fact, okay, that this is happening. And this is, see this, when people see this type of attitude, it keeps them away from the cult. Because it's cult-like thinking. When you do follow men,
I'm not following any people.
then you don't need to be in the organisation, do you, to follow God? But everything they say, you have to do. I was a witness. I know that. Okay. Or what? Am I lying because I've left? Ex-witnesses know how they work. There's a reason why we leave, and it's not always because we're bad people. People have left because they've been abused. People have left because of the epidemic of domestic violence, which is hidden. The way women are treated. I'm a feminist. I can never be a witness again. So it's just all this stuff.
Because I was right across the road from...
Yeah, and there's a reason why people... There's a reason why people are leaving the organisation in droves. That's why I don't do the yearbook anymore. The numbers are dropping. People are leaving. You know, there's a problem with the organisation. But if you're only allowed to look at one thing, only allowed to look at one side of the story, and not allowed to look at anything or listen to apostates, as apparently we are, then, you know, how can you get both sides? It makes no sense. You have to see both sides. Look at both sides with an open mind. And when people do, they usually leave.
That's their choice. We've got free will. You can leave if you want to leave.
Yeah, and people end up not leaving because they get shunned. They lose their family, they lose their friends. You know, the number of shunning, you know, stories of people being shunned, not being able to see family members because they've left. I mean, how's it supposed to help family, be family, so much for family, help families, which is quite funny. 10, 12 secrets of successful families, when so many people are being shunned when they leave and take pride in it. I mean, how can you take pride in emotionally hurting someone you're supposed to love just because they've left the cult? And that is cult-like behaviour. You leave, you shun people who leave. There's a woman who last year she killed herself, and I think she actually killed family